stage. I want to see who's actually going to play for each squad going into the game. But, I mean, Texas is an 11.5-point favorite, and I am almost smashing TCU to be a guaranteed cover because of all these factors considered.
Yeah, man, I would be amazed if Texas gets to 28 points. I don't see it. For that matter, I don't see Texas Christian getting to 28 points. Like, I see a defensive game, if for no other reason than the suspect offensive line at TCU, and Max Duggan might have to run for his life, but also because the Texas defense is not really that good, or at least it's not as good as it should be. Now, I understand you got a new coordinator, but that time is coming past. You have Caden Stearns, right? You have Joseph Asai. Like, we don't even get to talk about Vernon Broughton, and that dude might end up being the best defensive player in this entire conference in just 2 years. You got guys, and you ought to be able to beat Texas Christian. That said, right, you poked the bear, right? You poked the dude that has made the 4-2-5 a base defense for everybody. Everybody. Yep. Like, like, even Alex Grinch runs a version of that defense. The difference is he uses a stand-up end rush linebacker where Gary Patterson does not, right? He likes 2 ends, he likes 2 tackles, he likes 2 linebackers, and he likes to call them that, right? He likes 3 safeties. He likes to call them that. We play with the terminology, and we play with where these guys line up, but for the most part, he said, no, you've always needed 3 safeties. Because if you have 3 safeties, you have, number one, always an extra man in the box, and you're never going to get beat by that tight end slot receiver because that dude that I have trained can run with him. And I'm calling 2 different defenses the whole time. 3 sometimes, right? I call a defense for the front 6. I call a defense for one half of the field and a defense for this other half of the field. And he's constantly playing with what he thinks you're going to do and putting his guys in position to read and react. The thing that Texas has to depend on is the most Texas thing ever. You have to just say, our players are better than your players. That Josh Moore is that good. That Brendan Eagles is that good. I don't even see much of Tarek Black against Texas Tech.
Didn't play.
Yeah. So I'm like, what's that, right? And then is Bijan Robinson going to be ready to go? Do you get Jake Smith back? I don't think you're going to get Jordan Whittington back, right? So, like, I could see this going either way. I'm with you. I think Texas Christian is going to cover this game. The other big game on the menu that I want to talk about was Auburn and Georgia. And I kind of touched on this a little bit, but I want to talk about it from the standpoint of, would we actually care if Georgia did not look suspect? You know, like, I watched a good chunk of Georgia-Arkansas, and I kept going, man, if Georgia does not have this defense, they might lose this game. You know, like, because Felipe Franks didn't look great. The offense looked like they had just learned the offense for Arkansas, and, you know, they playing with house money because we don't expect much from them. But they led that game 7-0, 7-2, 7-5, all while Dwan Mathis is getting terrorized by Barry Odom's defense and Bumper Pools out there doing the job. And, you know, you put Stetson Bennett in there who absolutely just ran the offense. Like, I think he was something like 21-29 for 211. It's decent, but it wasn't what JT Daniels ought to be able to do. And I run this by you. I look at Bo Nix the way I look at Jalen Hurts, which is to say he's your ceiling. If that dude turns out to be a Heisman candidate, Auburn can win a national championship. But that ain't who that dude is, right? That dude's a very good college quarterback. But I keep looking around going, man, if y'all had somebody that could actually go make a play, like routinely go make a play and complete passes on third down when everybody knows you're passing on third down, Auburn's elite. And watching Kalen Newton at wide receiver, I'm going, Gus, what are we doing? Meanwhile, I'm going to watch Todd Monken and say, are you actually going to let JT Daniels go out there and cook, or are you going to let Kenny McIntosh and James Cook do your work? How do you feel about this game?
I don't feel great. I'll be honest with you. This one could be, if you're not a fan of defensive football, I would look at other channels, because I think obviously with JT Daniels, if he has the opportunity to start, and it sounds like he will, I'm still expecting him to have some sort of learning curve in this game, especially when he's facing an Auburn defensive coordinator in Kevin Steele, who is very good at exposing your weaknesses. I don't know right now that Georgia is the team that it's going to be 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks from now. But at the same time, if any team can make sure that it slips up, it's going to be Auburn. I look at this game, and I'm with you. I think if Bo Nix can just be above average, Auburn might have a wide advantage here, specifically on offense. And you at least feel good if you're in a situation where you have to bet on the Tiger defense. I think in the end, I would expect Georgia at home to have the advantage here. And I think if JT Daniels can settle in quickly, then that gives them a quarterback advantage, which also means a lot. But at the same time, if it's not evident and Auburn has the ability to lean on that defensive unit and maybe lean on a Bo Nix who just has to basically be a game manager on the road, the Tigers could make this thing really interesting, not from a pure offensive standpoint and light up the scoreboard. This could be a close game going into the fourth, and it could easily be one that Auburn comes out on top.
I'm going to be channel surfing. I know it. I'm going to watch Oklahoma and Iowa State on ABC. I'm going to watch Auburn and Georgia on ESPN. Then hopefully get to talk a little bit about both on ESPN later that night. But we'll see, because Major League Baseball is going on, which is what I actually wanted to talk with you about. Who's going to win the World Series if the Dodgers don't win the World Series?
Man, it's tough, dude. The Dodgers are kind of the heavy favorite, right? But I think the Braves are pretty sneaky this year. I like the amount of talent on that roster. And, the Yankees, if they can get all that talent on the same page, who knows? But here's the thing. The Dodgers are just so loaded, right? I think LA's been kind of the easy pick for so long. And obviously this is a college football podcast, so I don't want to harp on it too much. But if you aren't rolling Dodgers, I look at maybe the Braves in the National League and maybe the Yankees or some of those other well-hitting ball clubs, because, yes, pitching is a big deal in the postseason, but in this day and age where offense is so hard to generate, maybe look at a team like the Yanks to kind of get them through the postseason.
It's a sexy pick. You knocked Shane Bieber out of the game,
mm-hmm.
And he was serving up grapefruits. It was unlike him in that game, and I'm just gonna go ahead and say go Padres, right? Because that would be fun. That'd be fun. They are a fun team. I like Manny at third. I like Fernando Tatis at short. Those are fun guys. Yes, we have range here on the podcast. That is Colin Kennedy. Follow him on Twitter at @CKennedy247. That is CKennedy247. I have deleted my Twitter account. Colin, man, thanks so much as ever.
It's always fun, man. Let's do it again soon.
Right on, buddy.